Auburn drops a tough one at home. Should we start to get a little concerned? Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Barn Hoops podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush. We're ready to talk about this Auburn, Alabama second edition at Neville Arena in Auburn. Home game, home court. Auburn loses in overtime 93-91 to a buzzer beater. A dagger, a little teardrop left hand from Mark Sears, Dr. Mark Sears, to seal it right there at the end. We're going to break down the game. Janai had a monster game. Chad got thrown out of a game again. A lot of stuff to talk about. Should we start getting concerned? And a multitude of other things. We're going to jump into that in just a second. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to unclekeithsredsauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn25 to take 25% off your order. I've been seeing all the comments, the messages. This stuff's taking off. If you love salsa, you can't beat it. And if you live in Alabama, you can go to any Publix. If you live in Birmingham, you can go to any Piggly Wiggly. If you don't live any closer to any of those, just go online and you can get it there and you can save big. Great stuff. Auburn family, show them some love. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. Now, let me tell you what wasn't good, and that was losing to Alabama. Losing to Alabama is never fun. Auburn drops their second game in a row. They split the season series with Alabama. Strangely enough, both teams win road games. That's pretty odd, just in general. It's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win in Neville Arena. Auburn lost twice this year at Neville, losing to Florida. Got pretty much blown out by Florida, and then this was a really close game. I mean, if you just can take the hurt of losing away, it's a fantastic basketball game. Just incredible, high-level basketball, high-level shot making. Honestly, even some high-level defensive performances on both sides. I thought both teams showed a lot of intensity at times. Auburn still a little hobbled, but I think we're mostly back to full strength as far as health goes, and had opportunities to win the game. We're going to talk about it. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. Alabama jumped out quickly to a 10-4 lead within 4 minutes. Okay. So there was a 6-point lead in 4 minutes. And you're thinking, oh boy, what's going to happen here? But from that point forward, Auburn won the rest of the game. It just wasn't enough to overcome that deficit right there at the beginning. You get it to obviously you tie it in regulation. You go to overtime. You tie it in overtime with 14 seconds left, and then Alabama hits the game winner to win the game. How did you get there? Johni Broome was a big piece of it. He had a monster game. You've been concerned about him the last two games, only scoring in single digits, seemingly unhealthy, just not Janai that we're used to. Well, he erased a lot of doubts. He scored 34 points, 2 of 4 from 3, hit a big 3 to tie the game in overtime. Hit a big 3 to tie it in overtime. Again, 34 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, played 43 minutes, way more than anyone else on Auburn's roster. To me, obviously, that's the big key of the game. We're going to talk more about his performance and what it means for Player of the Year in just a second. But, yeah, you had to have every shot from him. It was back and forth, back and forth. You had to have every big shot from him. Todd Pettiford also had, a big game. This is another game where he played more minutes. He played 19 minutes. I'm sorry, he had 19 points. Sorry, he played 34 minutes. 19 points, 6 of 5 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3, hit some big threes, missed 2 free throws. He got fouled on a 3 and only hit 1 out of 3, and that ended up being pretty crucial. I mean, it was there towards the end of the game. I think Auburn actually had the lead at that point in time, or no, they were down one. They were either down one or tied. Get fouled on a three, and you're thinking, man, you can take a 3-point lead right here or a 2-point lead, and he only makes one of them. So, and that's pretty uncharacteristic of him. But overall, again, really good game back and forth. I think one of the big turning points of the game was Chad getting ejected. And we're going to talk more about Chad getting ejected a little bit later. But Chad got ejected pretty early in the second half, and he was having a fairly decent game. He got he got to the line, obviously made both of a couple of times, had an and one, made 3 free throws, was being, a little bit of a menace on defense, but he let his emotions get the best of him and gets ejected. So then Auburn had to kind of scramble the rest of the game because it was an extended period of time without Chad. I can't remember the exact point in time that Chad got ejected, but it was early in the second half. This big surprise to me in the game, and kudos to Nate Oates here. Last game, Auburn really ran Alabama off the 3-point line, and Alabama could not convert in the paint. And then they would take some bad shots at three. They only hit, I think 4 or 5 threes in that game, and Auburn pretty much dominated them. They made some adjustments, and they abused Auburn in the paint. 52 points in the paint and only hit 7 threes. If I told you Alabama was only going to hit 7 threes in Neville, you'd say we win by probably 10 points, just like last time. They average double digits from 3. They were okay with not shooting threes because they figured out something. They could get Grant Nelson coming downhill. They did that. They did not do that at all in Tuscaloosa. They would get Grant the ball at the top of the key or at the 3-point line, and he is a much better driver of the basketball than he is a back to the basket big. And he finished. He had an unbelievable game. I think he had 23 points, shot over 50% from the field, made his free throws, absolutely abused Auburn in the paint, which is a little bit surprising and concerning because Auburn, typically has the size advantage. And Auburn's been able to be physical on the defensive side inside. Now, on the offensive side, sometimes we struggle in the paint with big physical teams. Janai can frustrate Janai, and obviously, Dylan is limited on the offensive side, and Chaney can be limited at times when it's a big physical team. But defensive, usually you don't have that issue. Usually you can't score in the paint on Auburn. Alabama just took Auburn to the woodshed inside. Again, 52 points from the inside. Aiden Sherrill was their, one of their bigs, freshman off the bench, didn't miss a shot, made some key rebounds in very limited minutes. He only played 16 minutes. He had 8 points and 7 rebounds. Just really, Youngblood also had a big game inside. Diabate made some big buckets inside. They just really Cliff. I make fun of Cliff, calling him triple single. Well, he made me look silly because he scored 15 points and didn't miss a shot. 7 of 7. A lot of those were dunks, but still 7 of 7. He was sort of the difference in the game. Just really their inside presence. Again, Nate Oates is a good coach. It is, it's normally he's not going to make the same mistakes twice. They found a little weakness and they exploited it and controlled Auburn. Even when Auburn can make a run, they could get one inside and score right back. That's something that Auburn's definitely got to clean up. Got to clean up the inside stuff. And then obviously rebounding. Look, I don't know what's going on with rebounding. I really don't. But this now is about the 4th or 5th game in a row where we're not just talking about a few rebound differential. We're not talking about just, a 2 or 3 differential in rebounds. You're talking about getting abused on the boards for multiple games in a row now. And I cannot figure out what it is. Out rebounded by 8. And a lot of offensive rebounds. There's a huge offensive rebound that basically won them the game. They're late. Auburn had a lead in overtime, or maybe it was tied in overtime, and there's a huge offensive rebound situation where Grant Nelson just beats Dylan, and Dylan had position on him. I cannot figure out what the heck's going on rebounding. We're just getting abused, and it doesn't make sense because a lot of times we have the size advantage with Janai and with Dylan, Cheney. They just beat us. It doesn't matter if you have the position on them. They just beat us. I can't figure that out. I don't know if we're overcommitting to the blocking a shot, and that leaves us out of position whenever the ball's coming off the rim. I don't know what it is, but something is up with our rebounding because we're just getting absolutely punished on the boards by teams that should not punish. I mean, this is honestly, I would call Alabama honestly a finesse team. I think they're especially on offense, and they just physically abused Auburn inside and on the boards, and that obviously is, in tournament time, that can get you beat. That can get you sent home early. You got to be able to get rebounds. You got to be able to defend inside. If teams beat you with a 3, so be it. You can't give them the bunnies. Can't give them the easy stuff. That was tough to watch. That was the most frustrating part of the game. It's just watching a team make adjustments like that and then just completely catch Auburn off guard, and you can't really do anything about it. Again, the first 4 minutes of the game, Alabama goes on a run, 10-4. Auburn wins the rest of the way. I mean, I know you may look at that as like moral victory or whatever. It's just saying Auburn, that one little lapse kind of cost you, and then you had some other opportunities that you kind of let slip away as well. I want to talk about Janai's performance, and I want to talk about some timeout situations that I feel like we need to start taking advantage of. Chad's ejection, and then talk about everything moving forward. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to Roback. Go to roback.com, use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order. Polos, hoodies, quarter zips. We're just about out of that season, but hey, start getting ready for spring. They got shorts, they got joggers, everything you can imagine. A lot of fun prints. They got the classic stuff too. Great feeling, top button approved. Need to check it out. Roback.com. Janai had a monster game. I think that gets him right back into player of the year conversation. He did a little bit of everything. Shot threes, hit 2 threes, big three to tie the game. That was fantastic. You needed to have it. I was mad when he shot it, but it still went in. He shot 3, I think, threes. I was mad. I know he shot 4 threes. I think I was mad on every single one of them, but he made 2 of them. So that's great. And it felt like they were at key times. He shot. This is what's crazy to me, and this is what we're talking about. We're talking about foul differential and things like that. He took 28 shots. Okay, he took 28 shots, and let's erase the 3-pointers because it's hard to foul on a 3-pointer. So let's say he took 24 shots, shot 5 free throws, and I know his game is baby hook. I know his game. He has some fadeaway stuff, but he was playing through a ton of contact, and he just doesn't get the calls. I don't know. It could be a little bit of the reputation of the team. I don't know. It may be that Janai is on a list. He does complain a lot. He does talk to the referees a lot. Maybe subconsciously that hurts him. I don't know. He does not get the call. He does not get the calls. Like it's not a question of if, it's why. Why does he not get the calls? I mean, 28 shots and 5 free throws. If I feel like if a lot more big men get those shots, for example, Grant Nelson only took 15 shots. Okay. He only took 15 shots. So basically half of the shots that Janai took, and he got to the line 6 times, 6 free throws. Why is that? I can't figure that part out. We gotta figure that out. Chad's ejection. Look, it's another big moment, Chad. It's another big moment where you can't control yourself. And we all saw it coming. Whenever he started laying down on the court, asking for a review, and there was nothing that should have been called either time. And after the second time, the referee, whoever it was, I don't know referees like a lot of you do. Pat Adams is the only one I'm like, oh, I know him and he's awful. But he goes to the monitor and he almost seems disgusted after he watches it because there's nothing there. We're falling on the court, holding our back when you didn't get hit in the back. You didn't get hit in the ribs. I knew it. I knew after those two things happened and he didn't get a call, something bad was going to happen. He got lucky. He got lucky with the, swiping and hitting Youngblood in the eye. I thought, honestly, y'all can say what you want. That was purpose. Now, he does things like that. He's clever where he can do things where it looks like it's a basketball play, and it's not. I talked about it earlier in the year when when he's going out of bounds and he's coming in to throw the ball, he's purposely, he's aiming at their head. Like he's doing things to like in sort of an emotional reaction, but he's doing it in a basketball way. So that you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He got lucky with that one. I know y'all probably trash me on that, but it was lucky that he did not get a flagrant on that one. But I knew it. I knew he didn't get his calls. It was physical. It was chippy. Him and Youngblood were going after each other. I knew eventually something was going to happen. And it was the most egregious. It was worse than the Yale one. It really was. The Yale one was bad. This one was worse. The guy's not even looking at you, and you elbow him in the back of the head. What are we doing? How do you think that doesn't get you ejected? How is that not just the most selfish thing you can possibly do in a tight basketball game? How can you not control yourself? You're 25 years old. We're talking about run it back. Do we want to run it back next year? What are we doing? That maybe this is why Auburn doesn't get calls. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe this is why Auburn can't get calls in crucial moments because of stuff like this. How can we not see it either? Everybody in the stands can see it. Everybody at home can see it. How can we not see it when he's starting to go south? Pull his butt out of the game and sit him down and let him chill for a bit. What's the difference? He was ejected. So we either sit him down or he's going to get tossed. Cost the game. That costs Auburn the game. Now, the craziest voodoo ever is that for whatever reason, when he gets a flagrant 2 or a flagrant and they get 2 shots and the ball, they can't score. I don't know what it is about that. He did the same thing at Alabama. Maybe it was Youngblood too. I don't even remember who it was. Or he slapped him in the face going out of bounds. I don't care what was happening. I don't care if he was getting shoved. He slapped him in the face. Don't do it. Don't do it. Maybe he gets the call. We can't control ourselves. Can't control it. And it costs Auburn in a big game. I'm nervous that it's going to happen again. Why would you not be nervous at that? The evidence is there. It keeps happening. I don't know, man. It's tough. And then the last thing I want to talk about, look, this is Bruce's style, okay? Bruce's style has always been to kind of let them play it out. And I get it. I get it on whenever another team is going on a big run and you just let them play it out. I get that. Like that's fine. I, the timeout stuff when the other team's going on a big run on you is really just more so honestly probably like traditional than anything. Like I don't know that it really does anything unless you specifically are noticing something that you can correct. But if they're just making like crazy shots, just let them play it out. Like they'll eventually shoot their way out of it. I get that. I don't understand. This is essentially the level of a tournament game. Now, this is so win and you go home scenario. You've got a chance to win the game, and you have the shot clock off. So you have a chance to end the game on a shot and win the game. And we don't call a timeout. We don't seemingly try to figure out what we're going to do. We get the ball to Janai at the 3-point line, not even in the paint. We get the ball to him at the 3-point line. Janai's not even that good of a driver. And he's backing. He dribbles the ball for 10, 15 seconds. We still got timeouts. We could call a timeout there and draw something up. We just let it go. And then our play to win the game against Alabama at home, a physical game, an emotional game, one that you can no doubt lock up the number 1 overall seed, one that you can cut down the nets afterwards. Even though you're already the champions, you don't want to cut down nets after a loss. You can cut down the nets. We settle for a mid-range fadeaway from Janai, who he's hit those. Probably the lowest percentage shots you could possibly. And then on top of it, what if Janai gets fouled? There's not great odds that he's going to make one of two to win the game. I didn't get that part. I don't understand why. I know some people are going to say, well, they called a timeout the possession before. Maybe they got the play they were looking for. Maybe they already had the play they were looking for. Maybe so, but you don't get to take the timeouts to the SEC tournament. Okay. It doesn't take much to understand that things are going awry, call a timeout and get a play called up. On the flip side, what do you see from the other side? On the flip side, in overtime, with a chance to win the game, 14 seconds left, what does Nate Oates do? He calls a timeout and he draws up the perfect play that caused us to get confused and not know if we should switch or stay on our man. And it gave Mark Sears just enough room to get into the lane and do his little floater that he does. It's a beautiful play call. That's what you do when you're trying to win a game. You draw up the best thing you can possibly. You have nothing left. And here's another thing: you get more timeouts in overtime. If I'm not mistaken, you get another timeout in overtime. So it's like, why not? Why not waste them all to figure out? I mean, figure out that you're going to get the best shot. Like, why not? Big game situations. I don't really understand that. That didn't make a lot of sense. In March, at these point in time, these tournament games, possessions are critical. You win or you go take your butt home. That's what happens. Possessions at the end of the game are critical. Why would you not? Why would you not call timeout and figure something out there? I don't get that. How much does this loss actually matter? Look, Auburn's already clinched. So look, Alabama had a lot more to play for. They're trying to stay on that 2 seed line, maybe sneak back into a 1 seed. I don't see that happening because of their last 7 games. But hey, you don't want to drop any further. You need to build some momentum going into March. You just had a really tough end of February. You lost to these guys already one time. You have a lot to play, a lot of motivation. Auburn still sort of trying to get healthy. Denver wasn't 100%. Janai is not 100%. You've already clinched. I understand that there could be some – it may not mean as much to them as it does to the fans to win against Alabama. I understand that. And I think that's probably fair to them, to have that a little bit of that mindset because it's a long season, because you've grinded through the hardest SEC ever. You went 15-3, you won the SEC outright. That's massive. Already had the banner in the rafters. I get it. But 2 straight losses going into March has to make you feel a little bit nervous. And it's 2 straight losses where you were just completely out physicaled inside when that's supposed to be one of your bigger strengths. Seeding wise, we'll have to look and see what happens. But I still feel like the resume, you're the best team in the country, that you deserve to be the number 1 overall seed, no matter what. But maybe you left the door open for Duke to sneak in. They say the tournament doesn't matter, but what if Duke runs the table? And what if Duke, blows everybody out in the ACC tournament? You left the door open a little bit. You left the door open for that discussion. Now, it shouldn't. You've basically doubled the amount of quad 1 wins. You basically doubled the amount of quad 1 wins that Duke has. And I think you have about the same amount of maybe one more quad 1 loss. So the resume is incredible. The resume is 1 seed worthy. It's just those 2 losses at the end of the year. I wonder if there's going to get some recency bias with the selection committee. We'll have to see what happens there. So final thoughts. Look, at the end of the day, the game didn't matter. Didn't change anything other than it just sucks to lose to Alabama. You got to shake these 2 losses off. You got to figure out what's going on inside. You got to figure out what's going on the boards. You got to figure out what's going on defense. You got to find something to correct that. But keep shooting, man. Keep shooting. They shot really well, still shooting well, still scoring. And I feel like as long as you can do that, the other stuff is what Auburn's typically good at. This team's typically good at anyway. So maybe you can, find it again on the defensive side. So let me know what you think. Am I way out of bounds on the Chad Baker-Mazara stuff? Am I out of bounds on the timeout stuff? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to chat with you there. So, guys, I really appreciate you listening. I know it's tough, but we still got SEC tournament. We're going to talk about the SEC tournament and the NCAA outlook tonight on the live. Hopefully, Zach and Dap can join me. We'll have a lot of fun there, and then we'll be, obviously same old through the week as we keep talking about hoops, talk about football. We'll do a little bit of everything at the Barn Auburn YouTube page. But this is the basketball show. So we'll be back again. I'll get Zep's take, and we'll have some fun. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. It's another episode of the Barn Hoops Podcast.